You gonna play the intro?
Hey, I found his dad!
I think Dad has made some excellent progress today.
Your dad, he's a fun guy, right?
Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?
And I love him so much, and I think he's the greatest dad in the world.
Welcome back to Working on the Dad Pod. I'm Alex, he's Ethan, and tonight we're working on money with kids. So this is not, I know we've had some conversations in the past alluding to, maybe directly talking about how expensive kids can be or different aspects of having kids. But this is more that next level as our kids are getting a little bit older now, of having the conversation around money with our children, how we give them some measure of fiscal responsibility in their life. And spoiler alert, this conversation's going to be a little bit theoretical. We're going to be shooting some ideas off of each other about how we might handle it, riffing a little bit on what we were given as kids and talking about what we might do when that time comes with our kids, which probably should be sooner rather than later in some regard. Before that, we'll do story time. After that, we'll work on something. I know it's been a little while, but glad to have everybody with us. And before we get started, please do remember to subscribe on YouTube. You can find us wherever you get your podcast, but YouTube's the best place. It's where we post video episodes. You can see us YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other platform that's generally considered above board podcasting. Don't forget to check out our website too, workingonthedadpod.com. Ethan, how you doing, man?
I'm okay. Everything you said was well said. I liked it all. I'm excited for story time because, to be honest, it is a story of redemption. The story is a story of clearing a name. It's a story of truth coming out about responsibility and the belief that one had in oneself. So I'm excited to tell that story.
Yeah.
So I'll just get right into it. My father visited this last weekend. Dad had a great time. We ate some fun food, tried out a really dope restaurant called Makedo in DC. It was fantastic. Recommend to anyone who comes to town. But I stepped out of the house on Sunday for about 30 minutes to take care of an errand and left my dad with the girls. And I came back and I noticed something on the table. I said, "Hey, is that my wedding ring?" For those of you who have been with us for a while, I lost my wedding ring 7 months ago. And I was pretty sure it ended up in the trash. So I see my wedding ring and I say, "Hey, where did you guys find my wedding ring?" My 3-year-old says, "Right here." And I was like, "What do you mean right there?" And my 6-year-old says, "It was right here on the floor this whole time." And I said, "Hey, I know I'm not the cleanest guy, but in no way has it been in the middle of our living room floor for 7 months, despite all the vacuums, despite the cleanings. There's no way that was the case." We have a modular sofa with storage in each area of it. And
Nice.
one of the ottomans, we put a bunch of the girls' board games and card games. And my dad is pretty sure that this guy, my OG wedding ring right here for all of you looking, made its way into the Pretty Princess bag. And so once again, I'm a pretty princess with my original wedding ring. I now have 2 backup wedding rings. One that's a little bit bigger in case I let myself go and stop working on the dad bod. But right now I'm back to normal. I'm back to the Ethan that knew he wouldn't lose his wedding ring, despite the fact that his wife thought he would. So redemption is mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago that I was on my own. And still, if you're watching video, still flying solo, still on my own. It has been a full 3 weeks. Family gets back 2 days from now. So I'm very excited to have them back. But that does not mean that parenting has completely stopped. Do I have to do a lot less of it? Yes. 95% plus less. But I was, we ended up not recording last week, but it was bad timing because I had a great story that came out last Wednesday night. I get a text from my wife a week ago saying your daughter needs to come home. And I was like, excuse me? And she didn't say your daughter, but she gave her name, and so it wasn't that bad of like, what did I do? But
Mhm.
I go, okay, what's happening? And basically, through a series of choices that were made, my daughter being 7, my son being 4, my daughter does not sleep as much as my son. That's pretty basic understanding. My son is at this age where he no longer naps, but he could probably use it. So we make sure that he gets a full night's sleep. And because my kids truly enjoy sleeping together, we make their bedtime the same and their wake up time the same so that my son can get a full night's sleep at the expense of maybe sending my daughter into the room a little bit before she needs to. So my wife started trying out, since they're in vacation mode a little bit, letting her stay up a little bit. And I don't know all the guardrails my wife put in place, but let's just say in our marriage, I have from day one been the one who's been more like, hey, they should really get to sleep. Like, let's not be lenient with this. Let's be consistent with this. I pull that trigger more. My wife isn't all loosey goosey, but I know her. I would be like 30 minutes and I'm going to set an alarm on my phone. And then you were going like, we're going to try 30 minutes. And if you do 30 minutes successfully for 4 nights, you can get it increased to 45, right? Like I would be very methodical about it so that I could control and test and
Mhm.
see, because for me, sleep is never a question of just, are you developing and growing enough for this big conversation about health? It's like, what kind of person are you going to be tomorrow? Right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
very near term stuff for me. And
Mhm.
so my daughter was not getting enough sleep. As I have alluded to many times before, I think she has some level of ADHD and can get pretty dysregulated. So there's a combination of her not getting enough sleep, which is bad for people with ADHD. Know this myself.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's bad for everybody, but it really dysregulates neurodivergent folks. And on top of, she can get dysregulated when she is around either one of her grandparents and her brother too long. It's not
Mhm.
anything they do, it's just a different set of rules. It takes her a little bit out of her routine and what feels normal and what feels safe, and the systems and rules and things that we have discussed with her time and again. Grandparents are different, and it's a lot harder when you're at a grandparent's house to like
Mhm.
try and supersede those rules. So
Mhm.
when she's with her grandparents down here in Florida, she comes home, she decompresses. She's got her safe spaces, her books, her bed, her whatever. When she's there, living at her grandparents' house for 3+ weeks and with her brother, there's no reprieve. There's no break. There's no days where one grandparent is picking up my son and maybe she's coming home and just chilling with a book for 3 hours until he gets home. There is none of that. And so I think both of those factors really contributed to her being completely dysregulated, which evolved into, they were playing a game of Uno, and my daughter started screaming at my wife because they called Uno at the same time, to the point that she just could not calm down. My wife tried to get her up to her room. She's still yelling. She's like, no, I'm going to sit on the couch. I'll be away from you, but I'm going to sit on the couch. My wife's like, no, you've got to go up to your room. You've got to, you can have the door open, but you have to be in a different spot. And she's arguing about that. My wife's like, if you're on the couch, you're not going to shut up. Like, you're gonna keep getting yourself worked up. You're gonna just keep, and it turned into a whole thing. My daughter ends up calling me from my wife's phone saying, Dad, I want to come home. And I'm like, okay, why? And she goes, because mom and Mimi are stupid. And the story I got from my daughter was not any of this background information. It was just that people were making her do stuff and giving her rules that she didn't understand, and nobody was being fair to her. And so I talked to my wife, said, okay, eventually got her to bed, got back on the phone with my wife and said, okay, here are the ways I can spend $1,000 to get up to Massachusetts and back in a reasonable time to get her. And my wife and I were basically had come to the conclusion, like, if she can't get better, like, we need to swallow this money and teach her this life lesson. And the idea would be that she wouldn't get to go to her grandparents' house in Massachusetts next year. If she was being told to leave, and that we were going to frame it like, we're not saving you from Mimi and mom, we're saving them from you. And end up having to set some boundaries with her. I talked on the phone with my daughter. My wife talked with her and saying, okay, you're essentially grounded. You don't get to go out and do all the things that your brother and your grandma are doing on a day-to-day basis. You've got to stay home for a solid 2 days. Downloaded her some like logic puzzles, word searches, Sudokus, some like mentally stimulating activities that maybe didn't feel like homework, but things that could keep her busy and out of my wife's hair as my wife was trying to work. And I kept Google Flights locked and loaded in case I needed to figure out a way to get up there. And my daughter is still not here. So the moral of the story is she figured it out, but definitely had some moments where I'm like, I've got things I'm trying to accomplish around the house, chores and things I'm trying to do, and trying to convey to my daughter, like, hey, you're not just going to come home and it's going to be some party. Like, I'm not going to send you to your grandma's house. I can sign you up for a summer camp. There's one available at the Y, which means you're going to go with me to the gym, get dropped off to summer camp, stay there till 5. You're going to come home. You're going to help with chores. You're going to read. You're going to do no screen time. Like, we're going to be in like daddy, get your act together boot camp here. And so I think that inspired her to be like, oh, I'm not just going to like get to go to my friend's house or play with my other grandma or whatever. Like, this isn't fun. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is one of those things where you're like, okay, am I going to have to change up my entire plan for this coming week to be solo dadding a kid who I need to be enforcing some fairly serious boundaries with to make sure she can get her attitude together? And luckily she was able to recover, and my kids are now sleeping in separate beds for the rest of their trip. Separate rooms, separate beds, and just building out those systems and hopefully getting through it.
Yeah, my 3-year-old is full three-nager, very close to 4 NATO, just like her older sister. And we're at the point where every morning I'll say, hey, good morning, sweetheart, and she'll go, no, daddy, to the point where I'm just kind of looking at her saying, why are you being so mean? And she goes, get out of my room. And after a few mornings in a row, I frankly just said to her, I said, you know what? You're being very unkind, and it makes me not really want to be your friend anymore. And she started tearing up, and I said, hey, at school, when your friends are mean to you and unkind to you and hurt you, do you want to be their friend? She goes, no. And I said, but are you still their friend? Yeah. But does it make you want to rethink that position? Yeah. And I said, well, right now you are making me feel like I don't want to be your friend because you're hurting my feelings. And the rest of the morning, she was pretty good, to the point where she didn't want me to leave. And then this morning when she woke up, she said, get out of my room, daddy. No. So, we're kind of goldfish lessons here. But, I've had to say that a few times, and it seems to have hit home. It has an immediate impact on the attitude. I don't really feel great about saying it, but, I want her to realize that, I'm always going to love her, but, I might really not want to play with her for a bit if she's going to be unkind to be around. So we're in that phase. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And luckily my son had never went through like my daughter, and I think it's a difference in personality sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
My son definitely had teenager moments, but being just like mean was not one
Mm-hmm.
of them. You know, my daughter
Right.
definitely went through a phase where like when she didn't like stuff, she would threaten to run away or
Mm-hmm.
say, you know, I hate it here. I hate you. I hate this stupid house. Hate this, you know, that kind of stuff. My son thankfully hasn't gotten there, and he's about 4.5 now. And I'm, you know, kind of like, did we dodge it with him? You know, he's a pretty sweet kid. Really hoping that sticks.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but then I also hear anecdotally that like when they're tough like that when they're kids, they can kind of get it out of their system and be more moderate teenagers. And maybe my son's gonna, you know, once the hormones start hitting, be a little bit more rambunctious. But we'll see. Um,
Yeah.
so main topic tonight: money with kids, and this was one that kind of had in the back burner is maybe doing, but really could be an all-encompassing conversation, but really it's more about the conversation around allowance and money for chores
Mm-hmm.
and you know how we teach kids some level of fiscal responsibility. And like I have a lot of thoughts on the subject, and I don't even mean like strong opinions of where I definitely stand, but like I felt like the best place was to start with our own
Mm-hmm.
experiences with getting an allowance or having things. And I was thinking about this earlier when we decided on this topic. And growing up as a kid, where my parents were divorced by the time I was my son's age now, my parents had different systems for it. And so I kind of grew up with one parent, my dad, doing an allowance every week of like $5, called it Mad Money. And then my mom was much more of the like, I will pay you some money to do chores. And we went through various systems. Sometimes it was like you get an allowance for doing all your chores, and sometimes it was itemized to like you wash the dishes, you get 50 cents or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had both of those. And obviously, I think the Mad Money system was more consistent income for me because I didn't have to do anything for it other than exist, versus
Mm-hmm.
like being motivated to do the chores. But those are kind of some combination, maybe 100% one direction, 0% the other, but some combination of things that my wife and I have floated for how we end up giving our kids spending money that they
Mm-hmm.
can sort of do whatever with through work or through, you know, just some sort of allowance. What was your experience growing up?
Yeah, so I didn't have chores per se. I had expectations. Like it was expected that my room was clean, and I think my parents were slick to just kind of make it so that so we did have a nanny slash housekeeper situation. So the big stuff got done, but there was an expectation that like you did not leave a massive mess for someone else to have to take care of. It's like her job was not to pick up after us. It was to do the things that my parents just didn't want to have to have to do after both having work all day
Right.
kind of
Right.
thing. So
Right.
so like did I necessarily have to do the dishes? No, but all used dishes either had to be in the sink or in the dishwasher depending on what they were. Did I
Yeah.
have to, you know, make my bed? Not really, because I made a point that said my bed's not like I'm the only one in it. It is not comfortable. Like I don't find it more comfortable whether it's made or not. And I still
Sure.
sometimes have that argument with my wife.
Yeah.
My side of the bed doesn't need to be made for me to feel good, but I will sometimes do it because I know it makes her feel good. But that was not the case when I was a kid.
Sure.
And, like dirty clothes had to be in the hamper, just like it was basically just live your life stuff. But with regard to the money, there was a period of time where, about a mile from my house was something called the Sherman Oaks Galleria. And typically on either a Friday or Saturday night, my friends and I would all get dropped off there, and we would grab dinner and a movie, and like a $10 dinner and a $10 movie at the time. And I would ask my parents for money, but I didn't like necessarily asking them for money, so we got into an allowance system. And my parents didn't like cash. They never did. So I had a US bank like kids debit card that got loaded once a month. And I mentioned $10 movie, $10 meal usually. And when my parents gave me $40 a month, that basically meant I had 2 weekends. But I wanted to see my friends. And so then I'd be in a situation where I said, hey, $40 a month doesn't allow me to hang out with my friends all the time, and you don't really like want me to be a loser, do you? So I end up asking you for money anyway. And so it was kind of just a system where the money didn't match. And I think one of the things was I would work summer camp and I'd get paid in paycheck, obviously not cash, nor was it possible to be for the employer to give me money into my secure debit card that my parents did. So that money basically just went into my college fund, right? And I never really saw the money. So when I asked my parents for a raise, which was a fun story because I told my dad I wanted to have a breakfast dinner or a business breakfast, and we went to get breakfast, and I had a bunch of notes, and I told him that at $20 a Friday night with only $40 coming in, I end up asking for money anyway, and I'm unable to do what I need to do. I need a raise. And he was proud of me for coming up with all the evidence I needed. And he said I made a good argument, and he agreed, and we shook on it. And I said, and I need you to pay for this brunch because I don't have the money yet. And we both laughed, and there we were. And I got a raise, and I was able to meet my needs. And there we were. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about it, I think about it when it comes to my kids. They're each system, right? Each system has its value. The paying for chores, I think there's some moral questions with it, and I'm not good person, bad person, but I think for some people, the paying for chores system comes down to my kids live here. I have to work to keep this roof over my head. They should get that in some small dose. Work, but on the flip side, that money's not going back. Like that money's going to toys or trips with friends or whatever. It's not actually like paying for groceries or the mortgage or anything like that. At the kind of levels that I would be paying for chores anyway. I think there's some of it that is just like teaching your kids to take care of their stuff because it's their stuff, and that the desire to care for your own house or your own car or things that come out of your own pocket, you will eventually like appreciate when you have to pay for a replacement, big or small, house level or not. And so I think there's, I tend to lean towards the side of like, I want to give my kids responsibility because they should take care of the house the same way your parents were like, I've been working all day and like I don't want to just be your housekeeper, right?
Mhm.
I want like you need to pick up some of the responsibility because you're creating some of the mess, right? And I think that
Mhm.
starts we have that system with both
Right.
of our kids, right? Like with their rooms. Like this is your
Mhm.
toys, this is your stuff. You've got to take care of it. And if you show me that you're not going to take care of it, right? And I've said this before on the podcast, like I have thrown away some of my kids' toys when they refuse to clean them up. Like, show me you
Mhm.
care about it or don't. And they've lived through the consequences of like me, the dog, themselves, somebody stepping on or in another way breaking their toys because they left them out when they
Mhm.
shouldn't have, or things getting lost.
Yep.
Which kind of works in my advantage because one of the things I've been doing is clearing out a bunch of crap while they've been gone. And when they ask about it, I can just be like, "You probably lost it."
You probably lost it. You didn't put it
Yeah,
away.
it's
I
definitely
haven't
not
seen
sitting
it.
in
Yeah.
Goodwill,
Yeah.
or trash.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
I
I think
go ahead.
so basically I think, you know, what it was a situation in which my parents, gave me enough gave me an amount that they needed me to budget. And I think they did not realize just like the cost of the things that I was just trying to do. Because if you think about it, I was essentially spending money one day a week. It just happened to be that it was a little more than they probably thought that
Sure.
I and it wasn't a I feel like as I explain this, I sound a little bit spoiled, but I just like I can't control what the cost was at the time of
No,
those
and
things,
I think it's like it's one of those where my dad I mentioned gave me $5 a week, right? And then
Mhm.
when I was either a late junior or early senior in high school, he gave me a raise to $25 a week that I didn't ask for
Mhm.
because like I was working a part-time job to
Mhm.
make some of the money, but also like trying to keep up with schoolwork. And I was on the
Mhm.
like I had the tennis team, school
Right.
newspaper, like extracurriculars taking up my time, and I was like burning out. And he basically
Mhm.
gave me the raise for my own health so
Right.
that I could quit the job.
Right.
Because he was like, $25 a week isn't going to cover what you're making minimum wage, but you'll have more time. So I appreciated that. And there was a part of me that was like, yeah, like what I got when I was 5 probably isn't what I should be getting as a
Mhm.
16-year-old
Right,
kind of
right.
thing. But, part of that was like paying for my own gas.
Mhm.
And
Right.
those kinds of elements out of job money, birthday money, summer
Mhm.
job money and all that stuff. And so, it was it's really I think there's some value in the hybrid model of like doing a little bit of both, but it depends on how you employ it, right? Like one of the things that like I probably wouldn't pay my kids for washing the dishes. I
Right.
might tell them, make sure, I already tell them, take your dishes to the sink. And
Mhm.
like I might encourage them to rinse their dishes off and get them in the dishwasher, or as they get a little bit older and a little more trustworthy with it, like they already take their folded clothes and go put them in the drawer, but
Mhm.
teaching them how to fold the clothes,
Right.
right? Getting them to pack suitcases when they're going on a trip. I think those are kind of like baseline take care of your stuff. But I had to like clean the pool tonight. I don't want
Mhm.
to do that. There's no reason why in a couple years my daughter can't do exactly what I did, and like scrub down the bottom of the
Mhm.
pool or take out the filter and hose it down or whatever, or you know they can't learn how to mow the lawn safely at
Mhm.
some point. Another thing that I don't want to do, that I'm like, if I wasn't doing this, like if I'm not washing the dishes, I got a problem. If I'm
Sure.
not mowing the lawn, I would be, and I have in the past paid somebody to do that. I
Mhm.
could pay somebody to clean the pool.
Right.
So part of it would be a cost benefit to me of like, I give my daughter $10 for something that somebody else is going to charge $50 to come by and
Mhm.
do.
So on that very note, so I'm going on vacation next week, everybody. So Alex and I might do a pre-recorded episode, but there might not be an episode. And I typically, ever since COVID and the pandemic, have been at the point where I've gotten a lot less haircuts normally, just not as often. I'm also don't have as much hair as I did, but typically I will pay for a haircut before a formal occasion where there will be pictures, like somebody's wedding, especially if I'm get, if when I'm in a wedding, I know I'm at least going to be photographed professionally once.
Right.
Or, if I need to take a formal photo, for example, do I need a new badge for my work? Do I need a new passport photo? Things like that. I will get a real haircut before that because it's going to last 5 to 10 years. But I'm seeing my grandma in 2 days, and she will make a comment if I look not great. So I asked my wife to add my wife Buzz the hair, but I said to my girls, it's like, hey, do you both want to watch daddy get a haircut from mommy? And they could not be more jazzed. So said to my almost 7-year-old, I said, hey, in a couple of years, you get to do this instead of mommy. And she goes, I get to cut daddy's hair? That's going to be so fun. And, that I will happily give her $5 to $10 per haircut, which is, a fifth of the price of my guy Dean, who does a great job, but I'm willing to pay a fifth of the price for, a trainee.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that where I'm like those kinds of things that like I would be doing. And I think that would teach them the value of work, because those are not that a dishwasher isn't a job, but like not really a domestic dishwasher. Like I'm not in that income bracket.
Right. Sure. Yes.
Washing my dishes for me. I'm in the bracket of like, I've had 2 people mowing my lawn in the past, and one of them was a high school girl who was doing what I did when I was in middle school and high school, mowing some lawns around my neighborhood, right? And doing about the kind of job you would expect for $20 a pop. And I'm like, yeah, would I pay my daughter $20 a pop? Sure. My dad did that for me, right? He wasn't washing dishes or anything like that when I was over at his house, but he would pay me to mow the lawn because he didn't have to mow the lawn. And it also helped. I was getting paid by his homeowners association to mow the entire like side of the street, like everybody's like front lawn up and back. I was getting $60 for that. And he was like, you want to make 10 more while you got the mower out?
Right. There you go.
So it worked out. But I think there's some value in the hard work. The other thing, I think, when it's just the allowance, right? I think one of the things and one of the benefits of starting earlier, maybe earlier than they are going to be, going to the Sherman Oaks Mall, right? And hanging out with friends, because I would use my money to go to movies with my friends too. Go hang out at the mall as us 90s kids did. But I think there's value in like saving up for stuff that they really want. Yeah. I distinctly remember I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, right? I grew up a huge baseball fan. I was playing Little League Baseball at the time, big Braves fan, still a Braves fan today, but I really wanted a Chipper Jones jersey. And I knew my grandparents lived in Atlanta. I knew we went down there once a year to see them, right? And I was like, we get a summertime trip. I'm going to be able to buy a Chipper Jones jersey straight from the stadium, right?
Oh, snap.
It's going to be a big deal. And so I went to the store and I was like, it's $100. I'm going to save up my money. And I took the money that my dad was giving me. And instead of, we had a lot of like every Thursday night, we'd go out to dinner, and we'd quite often go to some restaurants that were at the mall that was really close by to my mom's house where my dad was picking me up from. And so it would be very tempting to be like, hey, I got $15. Let me blow this at KB Toys.
Oh,
right?
word?
Let me head to GameStop, see what's going on. What PlayStation 1 has got cooking up for me right now, a little Crash Bandicoot action. But
Twisted Metal much?
I was big Crash Bandicoot. Did a little bit of Tony Hawk.
Oh, sure,
You
sure,
know, those are, and then of course college football games. But I
sure.
usually peg the NCAA football games for the Christmas list or the birthday list.
Mm-hmm,
I'll
mm-hmm,
get them a little bit later. But um, with this, I was like 20 weeks. I did the math. I was like $100, $5 a week, 20 weeks. And I say, and it felt like that took me 5 years. It took me 20
mm-hmm.
weeks.
Sure.
It felt like forever. I still have that jersey hanging in my closet because I got one big enough that it still fits me today. Because as
Nice.
a little kid, I didn't get a youth jersey. I got an
Of
adult
course
medium.
not.
That was the smallest size they had in the store. And I still
Love
have
it.
the Jones jersey in my closet. And it's not
See
because I
good?
picked up and, you know, like, it's because it still fits me and I could still
There you
wear it to
go.
the baseball game is the reason I still have it. But like that is a crowning achievement of like early budgeting success for your guy.
Oh yeah. No, that's a long lasting good
Yeah.
investment. I
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, man. Yeah. Yeah. So we've actually started budgeting in a sense. I don't know if your kids got into this, but for those of you who totally missed it, the United States just co-hosted the World Cup, a soccer tournament.
You missed it.
If you missed it,
Buddy,
yeah,
buddy, come out from under the rock. It's not a house. You shouldn't live there.
right. And so the card company Panini put out a sticker book, which looks like a giant magazine, and there's more than 48 pages, but as you know, 48 teams were in this World Cup. And on each page, there's a team photo, like a sticker about yay big, and all players get stickers. And for $1.99 each, you can get a pack which comes with 7 stickers. So
Okay.
we were unaware of this, but then about a week and a half ago, my daughter just kept saying, I want a World Cup sticker book. And I had no idea what she talked about.
Sure.
And she kept saying, please go to CVS and get me a World Cup sticker book. So when my dad was in town, my dad said, I forgot sunglasses. And I said, I've got sunglasses for you. And he goes, no, is there like a CVS or something? And my daughter goes, CVS, can we go to CVS for a sticker book? So I'm like, chill the F out. All right. So we go to CVS and I go right up to the cashier and I say, this monster keeps asking me about a World Cup sticker book. Like, what is she talking about? And she goes, they're right over there. And it looks like a magazine. I would show it, but it's in my daughter's room. And she says, and the stickers are there. So I grabbed 2 packs of stickers and I'm thinking, all right, didn't know how many was in. I was just, $2 for the book, $2 each a bag or a pack. So let her open the first 2 packs right away. And she's ecstatic. She's had so much fun. And I'm getting mad, like Pokemon card vibes where I'm just thinking like, oh man, like I can see this now. But instead of putting it in the nice sleeve, you stick it and you're trying to fill out the pages. Yeah. And she's jazzed.
You
So
should make her pronounce the player name, and only if she gets it right does she actually get to keep the sticker.
ooh, I like that. And she
Probably do
so
that with Pokemon too.
no, true. So she is, so she has her first 14 stickers and she could not be happier. And I was like, crap, I'm just as addicted to watching this happiness as she is to feeling it. So a couple days later, we walk back past the CVS again and I look, and where the cashier told me they were before, there are no more cards. So I wait in line and I say, hey, do you have any more of the sticker packs? And she goes, yeah, we sold out earlier, but I have this box right here. And she says, how many do you want? And I said, I'll take 4 packs, $8.
Where those sticker
Yeah,
books.
right, yeah. And then she's like, is that all? And I say, you said you sold out earlier? She goes, yeah. And I said, okay, give me 2 more. So I buy 6, and I have to tell my daughter, like, we're budgeting this. You get to open 1 a night. And on that first night, she opens it up, and of the 7 stickers she gets 2 that are essentially duplicates because she opened them before. And I said, this is great because you can take these 2 to school tomorrow, like you've been asking me, and you can trade with somebody. And she ended up making trades and got 2 new. So we've been opening 1 a night, and she's been so excited to just every day bring her little sticker book to school and show her friends. And one of her teachers, who is one of the teachers is like a 19-year-old guy who is super into this, and so he's like the facilitator of the sticker book trading, the little market manager, and so he's jazzed. And my wife today, today was a day without activity, so she goes, I'm going to stop by the other CVS close to us and just see what's there. And she goes, there's a box of them. And I say, well, how many are you allowed to buy? And she's like, I don't know. I said, ask if you can buy the box. Like $2 a pop, whatever. So my wife grabs all 31 packs of sticker books. So essentially $64 worth of stickers, and gets a couple other things at CVS. Turns out we had almost $34 of extra care money. So, knocked $34 off that. And now, and my daughter has no idea, but for the next month, she can, if she's good, she can open packs. And every day when she goes, can I open a pack today? I say, hey, if you are kind and you're a good listener, that is how you earn a pack. So I'm kind of using alternative money, alternative means, not quite Bitcoin, but sticker books for good behavior, So that's kind of how we're learning things there. And we're not the richest in the class. So when she loses teeth, my wife talked me into $2 a tooth, which is twice what I made as a kid. But there's a couple kids in her class who make at least $5 a tooth. So I don't know where.
Yeah, there were some crazy even when we were in school, like being thrown around. And like my daughter, this is one of the downsides, right? The only way my daughter regularly gets money is by teeth falling out of her head.
Right.
And she's done $1 a pop. Maybe she might have gotten a 5 before, and that would simply be because we didn't have any other small bills.
We gave a 5 for first tooth, but then said that that's just like a welcome to the club from the tooth fairy. They'd never give you that much.
I don't like to set the standard too much, but luckily my daughter doesn't like. My daughter has no concept of money, and that's one of the reasons why I'm almost like I want to start giving her an allowance. And I would probably there are a lot of companies out there, that do the prepaid debit card. My dad would give me cash.
Yeah.
I would probably do the prepaid debit card. That way I didn't have to think about it. And she could like view the balance and like understand the concept of money and how much things cost. But like I will put things in terms for her of like how much a dinner costs, how much groceries cost. But like I'll ask her, like, because she's asked the question, like, are we rich? And the answer is no, we're not rich, but we have everything we need and we're not like struggling. Like we went on a Disney cruise. She doesn't know it yet, but we're going to Disney World on Sunday, right? Like her mom and I are going to Korea later this year. Like we have a small house and we spend a lot of it on travel, but we're not in debt. And I'll ask her a question of like, how much do you think we make per year? And she comes up with what she thinks is a big number. And I got to tell you, if we made $500 a year, we would be in a much different situation.
Sure.
I'm like, literally no one in this country working 40 hours a week can make that little money.
It's against the law.
Like, even if you are a waiter who got no tips, you couldn't make it. Like, it's inconceivable. Like, that's 2,000 hours a week. You'd have to be making 25 cents an hour or 2,000 hours a year. But I'm like, no, $500 is about half a month's worth of groceries. Like it doesn't cover our house payment, not even close. Like it's it's about 5 to 6 meals out with the whole family, or this many like fast food trips. I'm like, we easily spend $50 when we go to like Jimmy John's or Blaze Pizza or some other counter service, Chipotle kind of places for the four of us. And she's like, oh. And so I've told her what the number is, and she's like, oh, wow, that's a lot. I'm like, it's fine. But I
even
think the value, sorry, to wrap up the thought real quick,
yeah.
is like the value there is like getting her to feel money coming in,
Mhm.
saving up for whatever her version of a Chipper Jones jersey is, or spending it on things and being like, hey, you want to keep buying these little trinkets every time you see a museum gift shop, go buck wild, but you're going to figure out that the money's going to go away pretty quickly. And then when you
Mhm.
want to get something big, you don't have the money for it.
Our big thing is comparative, like we live in a townhouse
Yeah.
and a lot of her friends, some of her friends live in big nice houses, and she will
Yeah.
say, why don't we have a house that nice? And sometimes, that hurts, but I have to explain. It's like, hey, they are no longer paying for daycare, or they have
They are
one
better
kid.
than us.
Yeah, yeah, that too. And I will say, look, right now, when your mommy and I talk about moving, it always comes back to the same thing. Your sister has another year of daycare, and that cost money. And when she no longer is in daycare, and I'll tell her the number. I'll be like, and when we are not spending $35,000 a year for
Right.
her alone, we will have more money to do things because it'll be like a raise.
Yeah.
And so, so she hears 35,000 and she'll be like, that's like a million. It's like, actually,
Right.
it's like 35,000, but
Right.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yes, it whether it is 35,000 or a million, it hurts,
Sure.
it'll hurt me the same. But the, so right now in her mind, a tooth would buy her another pack of cards or of stickers, or a
Right.
tooth is the same amount of money we give her to bring to Hebrew school for tzedakah, which for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know is charity, and like a contribution. Because sometimes she'll say, "You forgot to give me tzedakah money," and I say, "You forgot to ask me for tzedakah money. Like, if you want to
Yeah.
do something good, you should remember to do it." But I did want to ask, so do you, and this is less about allowance and budget understanding, but more about like long-term financial planning and credit. But do you and your wife have your kids on your credit cards as authorized users?
No, we do on one.
Okay, but
Um,
like you do it on one, so they're
yeah.
building soft credit. So we do that, and my but what I would like to do, and it's been a while since I looked into it, but I believe the youngest I can find for a actual credit card
Yeah.
would be, I think it's either 12 or 13, where they can be the full on creditor. And I think the kind of thing I would like to do, is have them have my kids budget with try to budget, I guess, like with a credit card. Like I of course
Yeah.
would pay their credit card bill. But kind of like, hey, this is like your spending limit, and I'd like it to benefit them in a way too. But again, that's further
Yeah.
down the line, and I got
Yeah.
to think
And
of something
I
in
think
between now and then.
there's
So
like some value in that. It's also like it becomes one tiny mark if they take out
sure.
like student loans or do
Mhm.
anything like that. Like I didn't get my first credit card until I was in college.
Well,
And
I
it
found
just
yeah, I found out I had a credit history of my age when once, and it turns out that you know upon receiving a social security number, I guess my parents put my uh put me on as an authorized user on one credit card, so I had a very long credit history. And
yeah.
I said, wow, that was quite the gamble, guys, because what if you guys screwed up? Luckily they did not, but that would have that would have hurt. So there's always the risk in that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think the credit card, but something around like budgeting, you know, and
Mhm.
I think eventually, yeah, it may evolve into like you've got a spending limit and you don't have to have saved every penny that you're trying to spend
Mhm.
necessarily, but weaving some amount, you know, it to me it starts small where like you can only spend what you have
Mhm.
and you can't
Sure.
go over. And then it turns into like, okay, now we move into how do you handle debt?
Mhm. Right.
You know,
Sure.
and turns into, you know, oh, dad, I really want to buy this thing. And it's like, okay, well, this is 20 more dollars than you have. I will give you the $20, but let's say $5 a week is my daughter's allowance. Just
Mhm.
theoretically, I'd be like,
Yeah, you
you
don't get
don't
it
get
for 4
allowance for
weeks.
the next 4 weeks. And then when you start getting allowance, you will be at zero, right? Like,
Mhm.
I will, you know, I'll give you a 0% loan here, but like,
Mhm. Right.
you gotta like understand what it is. And then maybe when they get older, introducing something like a 5% interest rate or something just to say,
Yeah.
hey, no, you're still, it's been 4 weeks. You're still
Yeah.
below because interest,
Yeah.
baby.
Or like teach them the other way, like teach them arbitrage young, where
Yeah,
I'm offering you a 2% interest loan here, but the savings account you're putting your money in is 3%, which nets you
right. And
percent,
then
like let's
that's sort
figure
of
this out.
the, you
Yeah.
know, getting them into a saving, getting them into saving early because I think there's
Mhm.
some like value there of like teaching them how to save, right? Like where you
Mhm.
go, hey, you know, you can even make it like 401k style. I'll
Yeah.
match up to $1 that you put in your savings account, but
Mhm.
you're only going to get $5. If you choose to put one in your savings account, I'll match it. If you choose to put two in your savings account, I'll match it. And then all of a sudden, you have $3 in your pocket and $4 in your
Yeah.
savings account. Within a few months, you got $5, $6 in your savings account, not including anything else you have.
Mhm.
So
So we also have divvied up pretty much in the beginning. So with regard to college and everything, whatever college is going to be, then my for those of you who don't know, with a 529 college savings account, you can change the beneficiary on it without a penalty. So there was some leftover on mine and my brother's um, 529, which is fantastic. And my parents ended up just combining the two accounts and just letting it grow after 10 years in the market
yeah,
through. And then when my first daughter was born, they siphoned off an amount and started her 529. They did the same thing with my younger daughter. So we basically had two 529s, but given the fact that we have no idea how higher education is going to go, my wife and I decided that instead of putting X amount into their 529 every month, we would do half of that, and we started them each a custodial brokerage account. So
yeah,
each of my daughters are unaware of this, but like hopefully by the time that they're 18, they've got a nice start on their lives.
yeah,
That they could turn around and throw some of that at college, but I'm deciding we're kind of deciding on what do we do obviously before 18. We're not just going to spring that on them. So all of the things we've talked about tonight, it's like I'm wondering if you know we're probably just going to keep it a secret kind of until they're
sure,
that age.
yeah,
But definitely, so it's like, hey, like if you're putting in this amount of money into a savings account, I guess we open up another savings account for them, because if I were to tell them that
yeah,
we're matching, kind of like you did too, and they don't see the match on the bank statement, that's going to look fishy. I don't want to look like a chump, so we'll have to figure that
yeah.
out.
You want to show them the statements. You want to show them
Yeah.
like you can teach them what interest is. This is how much you started
Hmm.
with. This is how much you added.
Yep.
This is how much the bank added just for keeping your money there,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And sometimes
Yep.
you're
Yep.
going to
Yep.
want to take that money out, and that's fine. But whatever
Right.
you take out, you're no longer going to get any interest in. right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there's a lot of value in that, and in all of it, and yeah. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think the next step for me is I'm probably going to end up taking this straight to the wife,
Mm-hmm.
on our car trip to Disney to sort of see if we sort out, what that number is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Asking Claude a little bit here, and
So
they say,
I
decent rule of thumb is like $1 per year of age.
so
And I'm
that's
like,
the babysitting rate.
okay,
At least in our neighborhood. So in Maryland, when you turn 12, that is the age in which you can watch another kid in the state of
yeah,
Maryland.
okay,
So if a 12-year-old girl, and there's a kid on the block, you start at $12 an hour for
okay,
babysitting. And
okay.
I think yeah, I think that's, and then once you're, yeah, once you're like an adult, you could set your own rate, frankly. But for the most part, that's the vibe.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Maybe
You get-
maybe that's a good system that just graduates with their increasing expenditure per year,
Mhm.
little cost of inflation increase.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think it's a good, with regard to, a weekly allowance, starting at 7 makes sense for a 7-year-old.
yeah,
And then yeah. So yeah.
cool. Should we work on anything?
Man, I am working through Dark Age, in on my treadmills, and I'm I've I haven't made it to I didn't make it to the gym yesterday at work. It was kind of a hectic day. And but last week, or these last 3 weeks, I made it 33, 30, and I am now at 17 miles so far this week. So I am, with regard to running, I'm just racking up the miles, trying and hoping to, when I'm at the beach next week, hoping to do at least 3 beach runs.
Nice.
We'll be at the beach Monday through Sunday. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, starting Tuesday morning, that I'm ready to go. And I don't know if this is I don't know the exact science behind this, but I do know the lore, because if you've seen a lot of like movies or TV that take place in like the 17, 18, and early 1900s, that like the ocean air, you know, is where you go when you're feeling sick so that you feel good. I have
Sure.
noticed that I don't get hangovers when I'm at the beach because of
Okay.
the ocean air. So running in the morning with the ocean air after a night of drinking is kind of just like negates everything. That is
We went to
again, don't
college
know
in
the
Miami.
science.
I've seen you
Yeah.
get hangovers at the beach, my friend.
Yeah, but that was different though,
Okay.
because we were at school, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like it wasn't vacation. It's different.
Boys trips. I'm just saying, you're not going as
I
hard with wife and kids.
mm, what I was not hungover at any point our last beach trip.
Maybe.
I mean, we drank a lot, but
No, but
like
no, the last time, but there are times when we were younger. We weren't going hard. Nobody was like
right.
hungover on this last
Right.
trip. We
Yeah,
were
no, yeah,
being
look, like I don't
responsible
like,
dads.
yeah, I don't
Like,
go hard that often. I mean, for the last like 5 years I've been at a glass of water for every drink I have. So like, even if I do get drunk, I'm normally okay. But
I
it's
think
something, the
that's
ocean
more
air.
of it than the beach air. Yeah.
No,
Uh,
I'm telling you, I'm not
okay.
citing science, I'm citing the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this
Um,
is a lore-based podcast.
yeah. So for me, I know you've been working through Dark Age, and every now and then you'll message me, with just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this
Uh-huh.
happened. And I'm like, it has been it's been a minute since I've read those books, and I have actually been thinking Dark Age is the 5th book in the Red Rising series, for those that
Excuse me.
don't know exactly what we're talking about, and it's one that I've talked about. And I'm just sort of like, I know that the 7th book does not yet have a release date, but I'm like,
Mhm.
at some point pretty soon, I've got to do like a reread of those books because like it goes like I have consumed enough books since then now
Mhm.
where like, I've gone through all what 8 published Dungeon Crawler Carl books.
Oh
I'm
wow, I'm
on
still on the
book
first
2
one.
of the Mistborn series, right? Well,
Okay.
here's the thing. I'm doing a lot of stuff outside the house. Like I've been spending a lot of time like grouting some outdoor tile in the kitchen and like working on plumbing and mowing the yard and cleaning the pool and like picking up around the house. And I'm just like I have probably
So
logged a solid like 50 hours of audiobooks while my family's been away. And
no,
that
that's great.
that really that's a move, right?
Sure. And I listen to audiobooks at 1.4 speed. So for every
Yeah.
hour, I'm actually listening to 85 minutes.
Yeah.
But the
I
Dungeon
usually
Carl
go
Crawler series,
125. So
125, that's a good one.
yeah.
So you're at 75 minutes. That's good. So I, with Dungeon Crawler Carl, I am actually using my eyes to read it on my Kindle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is slow, and I do it in bed. So I usually get about a chapter before I'm ready to fall asleep. Not because
Yeah.
I'm not excited. I just it makes me a little sleepy.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
Hey guys, sorry for the abrupt end to this episode, but at this point, Ethan and I started riffing on video games. And since Ethan's going to be out of town next week, we made a spur of the moment decision to just turn this conversation about video games into sort of a fun, just chatting it up episode about video games for next week. So stay tuned for that. It's going to have a pretty abrupt intro as well. But thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Remember to like and subscribe. And this is our outro for this evening. Have a great night.